Next, Please, is a poem by Philip Larkin that delves into the human tendency to live in anticipation of the future rather than embracing the present moment. Larkin's poetry often reflects his preoccupation with themes such as the passage of time, mortality, and the disappointments inherent in life. Next, Please, is no exception, using vivid imagery and a tone of ironic detachment to explore the futility of waiting for the future to bring fulfillment. In the first stanza, Larkin introduces the idea of people eagerly waiting for what the future holds, describing it as though they are expecting something grand to arrive. He uses the metaphor of a ship approaching from the horizon, a symbol of the promising future that everyone waits for. This ship, however, is not immediately visible. It remains distant, reinforcing the notion that what people anticipate is always just out of reach. Larkin's choice of a maritime image evokes a sense of adventure and the unknown, capturing the allure of future possibilities. As the poem progresses, Larkin emphasizes the growing impatience and expectation that people feel as they wait for this metaphorical ship to arrive. He describes the collective anticipation as a tiny, clear, sparkling armada of promises, implying that people are seduced by the potential of what is to come. However, the use of the word sparkling also suggests something insubstantial or illusory, hinting at the ultimate disappointment that awaits those who pin their hopes on the future. The image of an armada, typically associated with a fleet of warships, further conveys the magnitude and force of these expectations. In the third stanza, Larkin explores the paradox of this anticipation. The future is always advancing, but it never actually arrives in the way people expect. The poem conveys a sense of disillusionment, as the anticipated future always remains on the horizon, never quite materializing into something tangible or fulfilling. Larkin's language here underscores the irony of waiting for something that is perpetually out of reach, highlighting the futility of such an endeavor. The metaphor of a ship that never docks emphasizes this point, representing the perpetual postponement of satisfaction. Larkin then shifts the tone in the fourth stanza, revealing the darker implications of this endless waiting. He suggests that the act of always looking forward prevents people from fully experiencing the present. By focusing on what might come next, they miss out on what is happening now. The poem thus critiques the human inclination to overlook the present moment in favor of an imagined future, which is often idealized and unattainable. Larkin's portrayal of this tendency reflects his broader concerns with the ways in which people construct their own dissatisfaction. In the fifth stanza, Larkin presents the future as a cruel illusion, leading people on only to let them down. He describes the future as something that keeps on advancing, but never delivers on its promises. The language here is imbued with a sense of betrayal, as if the future is deliberately deceptive. This idea is reinforced by the poem's structure, which mimics the rhythm of an ever-approaching but never-arriving ship, creating a sense of perpetual motion without progress. The sixth stanza deepens this sense of disillusionment by introducing the theme of mortality. Larkin suggests that while people are busy waiting for the future, time is slipping away, bringing them closer to death. The poem implies that the ultimate arrival is not the fulfillment of hopes but the end of life itself. This stark realization adds a layer of existential dread to the poem, as it confronts the reader with the inevitability of death and the futility of living in anticipation of a future that may never come. In the seventh stanza, Larkin's tone becomes even more cynical as he describes the future as always further. This phrase encapsulates the poem's central message. The future is an ever-receding goal, one that can never be fully attained. The repetition of this idea throughout the poem reinforces its inevitability, driving home the point that people are trapped in a cycle of expectation and disappointment. The use of the word always suggests a relentless, unending pursuit, underscoring the futility of waiting for something that will never arrive. Larkin then contrasts this unfulfilled future with the reality of the present, which he describes as our tedious present. This juxtaposition highlights the dissatisfaction that people feel with their current lives, which drives them to seek solace in the future. However, the poem suggests that this dissatisfaction is self-perpetuating. By always looking forward, people ensure that they will never be content with the present. Larkin's portrayal of the present as tedious also reflects his characteristic pessimism, emphasizing the mundane and repetitive nature of everyday life. In the penultimate stanza, Larkin introduces a note of resignation, acknowledging that despite the futility of waiting for the future, people continue to do so. He suggests that this behavior is ingrained, perhaps even unavoidable, as it is part of the human condition. The poem thus takes on a more reflective tone, as Larkin contemplates the reasons behind this tendency to live in anticipation. This moment of introspection adds depth to the poem, inviting the reader to consider their own relationship with the future and the present. In the concluding stanza, Larkin delivers a bleak resolution: the only ship that ever truly arrives is death. This final twist underscores the poem's existential themes, as it confronts the reader with the harsh reality that the future, far from being a source of hope, ultimately leads to the end of life. Larkin's use of the ship metaphor comes full circle, revealing that the journey people are on is not toward fulfillment but toward the inevitable conclusion of death. The poem thus leaves the reader with a sense of melancholy, as it reflects on the futility of waiting for a future that will never bring the happiness or fulfillment people seek.